Beautiful.
Welcome back to episode 5 of the Spark Your Interest podcast. Had a bit of a week off from sickness, so I'm back joined with Tim from Clipsal, who's you've had a bit of sickness as well.
I have coming off the back of a couple of days, nothing like what you got.
Yeah.
But definitely a flat couple of days.
Yeah, I was floored for a week. So we missed last week, and we were meant to do this last week. We've tried a few times to tee it up, and my voice was, you can probably still hear it's a bit nasally still, but so I had to push it back another week, but we got in here and we're going to get it done. So we'll start off. I'm going to shout out to Earth Beer. We're back on the beers this week. We had a couple of weeks off. The New England IPAs, I've got it right that time. So they're the fruit tree.
6%. Lucky I can walk home from here.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
Cheers, mate. There we go.
Cheers, Beautiful. Good to have you in here. All right, so.
Very good. Oh, that's
nice.
We'll
start off. So, Tim, you are local rep for the Northern Rivers?
Local rep for Northern Rivers. So I cover an area, basically Ballina, south to Evans, up to Tweed Heads, covering everything from Schneider Electric, Clipsal, industrial gear, all the way through to switch gear, saddles, screws, power points, switchboards, you name it. That's what I look after, in that area. And there's a few of us up and down the coast.
Yeah.
So the idea for me is to working with guys like yourself, electrical wholesalers, and then even builders and end users when I'm needed. So
because that's it. You're not just a sales rep. Like if in my head when you think of a rep, it's like, oh, you're going around, you come and just knocking on the door, sell stuff. I've come to you with heaps of problems and issues, and it's you've got a good way of being able to solve it. Like even today, we've had a problem, or not a problem, like an idea, and we've got you to come in, and then we've sat down, nutted out, and gone, yes, we can do that. No, we can't.
Yep.
And I think it's good having that relationship. It's not just here's a book of what we sell.
Yeah,
it's
here's a bunch of part numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, mostly what I do is you're working with guys on solutions.
Yeah.
You're not so much trying to be a pushy salesperson. At the end of the day, we're just trying to match, what are you doing and what's the best solution to help with that, whether it be automation or whether it be just basic switchgear. It really doesn't matter what it is. We don't really have a prerogative to drive and try and force products down people's throats. It's just trying to help people solve problems.
Have solutions. And you are an electrician, so...
That helps.
That helps, it's good.
Yeah, it does help.
Not just a used car salesman turn Clipsal rep.
No, not. But we've got a big team, So a few of us in our team up the coast are electricians. Yeah. Some aren't, but we all bounce off each other. And that's the one thing we have that I suppose, it's a feather in our bow is there's a lot of us. We've got a massive team. And even in behind me, there's a huge team of, engineers and specialists that I can bounce off pretty quickly. Most of what I do is really just know where to go to find the information to kind of help guys out.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like, it's such a reputable brand within the industry and probably the most well-known and the go-to for pretty much most electricians. Yep. So having someone who obviously knows their stuff, and you've obviously installed it yourself as an electrician, it's good to have that. On our end, I know for us, it's definitely good for us to be able to call you and you can come out and you'll come to site and it's no hassle and help where needed. So
even training, like we did that big training day the other day, which was fantastic. There's a lot of guys like yourself that are keen to upskill with a lot of our new offers. That's one thing, is the market's always changing. And, the reason I'm with Schneider is because we're basically ahead of that innovation.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm 10 years, as of Saturday, 10 years with Schneider Electric, which is fantastic. And the whole reason I'm still here is because there's always something
Yeah, it's not
new.
Stagnant role.
It's not stagnant.
It's the same way how we want to run our business is we don't want to have a stagnant business, and that's why it's good being able to work with you guys and knowing what is the next thing that's coming and being on top of it. So we're doing the training for the EV, for the smart home automation, and doing that. It's not staying in one position. You're moving forward with what the technology is, and it's good that you guys are obviously at the forefront because you have to be. And then we can get that training. You offer the training packages for your C-Bus, your Wiser, all that stuff. And I think that's like a really good tool that we can use as electricians that probably a lot of people don't hone into enough.
100%. It's changing so much, and I think the more educated everyone is, it's better for the whole industry. Even like you're educated, but the more educated your competitors are, it means that everyone's at the same level and has the ability to kind of offer a good solution for your customers. So, definitely, like I said, we're working with you guys, the wholesalers and end users and builders.
And I think like having a good you got to have that good relationship with obviously all electricians in the area, but your customer service as well is always like that. I think that's one thing with Clipsal is the customer service. So I've had issues with other, I'm not going to name names of other companies, but where the solutions is nowhere, like we just don't have, we didn't get anywhere. Yeah. And it's, I know if we've got a problem and you guys are like, oh, this isn't working, it's like, boom, we send a technician or you guys will reimburse you to go there. Whereas I know other companies won't do that. And it's just
that's
kind
it.
of like,
well, we have our in-home warranty, right? So the idea of that is, you know, once you've done your bit and you're confident it's installed properly, it really shouldn't be out of your pocket to go back out. So we have a network of service agents nationally that can shoot out and fix any problems, and that's at our cost, and it should be, you know. Like we've kind of backed the products, and that's a way we can, I suppose, support the electricians with doing that.
And that's it. If you're spending money on something that it's that same old thing, like you might spend a little bit more. I'm not saying like Clipsal's obviously it is all. It's not like you're not paying more money than everything else. But you definitely know the quality, and you're getting quality. You're getting good customer service and good warranties. Like, how can you argue that, really?
No, and that's exactly right. And look, and not everyone might agree with that, but I mean, at the end of the day, most people do, and they appreciate that. And that's kind of, you look what my job is. It's that. It's not to try and jam products down people's throat. It's just to help them understand what we're about. And you know, if our business, if what we're doing aligns with what you're doing, then it works. And for most guys, it definitely is the case. So
no, it's good. Yeah, I guess. What we wanted to talk, we could probably talk about 100 things, and my biggest thing, what I want to talk about is when we had the training with you, and we kind of delved into. I wanted to talk about EV with you because it's such a growing thing in Australia. It's a hot topic, but it's not. I feel like it's quite ununderstood, if that makes sense. Like relatively ununderstood by a lot of electricians at the moment because it's still such a new technology. So not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people know. There's no really rules or regulations around it per yet, like with regulated bodies and stuff, as in same as solar and stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's no. We were talking about within the UK where there's different like levels, I think, of installers plus check sheets that have to be completed and paperwork that has to be filled out. For commissioning and testing and certain test results. And I know like we've got one of the Matrel multi-function testers with the EV charge tester that comes with it. And we're talking about that. So we run that test through it. But I know a lot of people wouldn't even know about those because that's testing like it under load as you should because it's going to find a fault. Because that's my biggest thing. If you've just gone and installed a car charger for someone and you just turn it on and test the voltage, you go, that's fine. And someone plugs their brand new $100,000 BMW into it and something happens, who's liable for that? You're
right. And look, I've had those phone calls from guys where they, I mean, a big misconception is even the charger themselves. Like generally the charge rate's regulated by the car, not necessarily the charger. So it's very hard to test that because you might put in for instance, a 22 kilowatt. So, you know, generally what you put in a commercial area charger. Now, you can plug a car in. Most cars are only capable of 7.4 kilowatts of charge. So you really can't even test that. Without having a tester and running through all that. But even in the AS3000 at the moment, the regs around, you know, whether you even have to put an isolator. Well, it's all still very early
real
days.
Touch and go with it. And I know some people say, yes, you do. Some people say, no, you don't. I think at the moment it's coming down to like, use what knowledge you have from everything else and run with that and do it obviously to a standard that you know is correct for other things. I think there'll be a big change, and the more prevalent it gets, there's going to have to be more rules and regs that come in with it. Because I know there's actually a installation guideline, which I got from Nika, because I was speaking to them. I can't remember. It was in regards to something. I called them up about it, the technical support, and asked them, and they said, "Look, there's actually no rules around it."
No, there's a guideline in AS3000.
There is a guideline.
Correct.
But it's a guideline. It's not legislation.
That's exactly right.
So there's a guideline around it, and I think. Which was interesting. So there's all that. So it's kind of a lot of moving parts with people guessing and then not knowing. Like the test is $1,000. Like if you're only putting in one a month or less than that, are you going to go and spend $1,000 on a tester? Probably not. But is it giving you the peace of mind that you're not going to blow someone's car up? It's probably worth doing. So it's probably not a bad. Like I don't know if Clipsal will ever go down that route of having like a like a charger that they, that works in with their EV chargers or whatever, a tester, sorry. That works
look, most testers work in with ours. Yeah. I've actually got one in the back of our trailer at the moment to run it through a cycle and a test when we do the training. But so there is regs coming around the commercial space, which is I think something we're going to chat about as well. Yeah. So that's very much going to be regulated soon. Did you want to go into that?
Yeah, well, that's what the biggest thing I took out of when we had that chat was to do with the National Construction Code and the changes to that, which is going to be, this will be interesting for not just electricians, but for builders
100%.
That are going to have to know this. Architects, or anyone doing engineering or design
engineers
for new buildings.
So the new rules, so there's a, what would you call it? A EV advisory board for Australia. Yeah. So that's a thing, and they put forward some recommendations to the National Construction Code, and a lot of those recommendations were taken on board. Now these regulations have come in as of May and are compulsory as of October.
Yeah, right.
So there's a little bit of a grace period, but it'll be, you will not get your site certified or signed off without adhering to this. So
we got that. We had that sheet on here, and so. I've got this is the National Construction Code changes for 2023. So it all depends on classes of building. So if we give you an example of a Class 2 building, so an apartment block, they need to be 100% EV ready.
EV ready.
And minimum energy delivery of 12 kilowatt hours and a delivery time between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m.
So essentially what you will have in every one of these commercials, so you've got everything from apartments, hotels, offices, what have we got there? Warehouses, factories.
Retail,
every single one of them will have a percentage of car parks that need to be EV ready. But what that means, so what does EV ready even mean? It means you must have dedicated EV distribution boards in place. You must, and they're not just a standard DB, by the way, because when you look at things like, if you're going to fill it full of 32 amp breakers running at full freight, you can't just use your average standard chassis. So these are dedicated EV boards, which we're literally about to release an offer in that space, not too far away. Then you've got the load management system has to be installed. I mean, break down what that actually means. And you need to have a cable path. So you don't have to necessarily put the cable in or the charger in at this stage.
Conduit, if it's, have conduits ready.
You need to be able to, and the idea of it is, if you understand why they've done this, so you picture now, you've bought your EV, you move into an apartment block in Ballina, 20 units, you pull in, and you're trying to convince the body corporate to spend $50,000 on a switchboard upgrade because one person's bought an EV.
Exactly,
So the idea of this, having the base infrastructure in is, if I move in, Mrs. Jones moves into an apartment block, all they're up for is the cost of their charger and the cable run. They don't have to upgrade the switchboard.
So it's ready to go.
It's ready to go.
And they come in, they've got an EV. It's got to be ready to go. It's not saying you're a builder, you're doing a new build and you've got to install 1,000 EV chargers. It's having it ready to go. So if that person does buy that apartment and move in, they have the option ready to go, where it's an easy install for an electrician to do.
If you look at what, like some of the stats we're expecting is, for an increase in energy consumption in a building to increase by 45%. That's a lot. So the load management, what we call it LMS, I always use acronyms, and if I don't explain it, pull me up on it. So it just stands for Load Management System. So really all that is we put a meter in the board to monitor how much the site's using. And then that allows us to regulate the EV load charges. So if we have 10 chargers connected, depending how much power is available in the building, we would ramp the chargers up and we'd actually ramp them down, allowing, I suppose, that to not trip. The last thing we want to do is trip the main breaker in a building.
Because I think that's the biggest thing. Like, my biggest worry with that is, I know it's probably different in bigger cities and stuff, and we've spoken about it before on here, but the grid capacity here is so bad, and it's like every house is already ran at max capacity, and all the houses we do all these big builds out in the hinterland where there's old little sheds on there, which people have lived in for 100 years, and then now they want to build a mega mansion out there and they don't have enough power. There's not even three-phase power out there or anything, and they've got three-phase heat pumps and all this stuff, and it's like 100%. They've got to pay for these upgrades, but so there's not enough load there. You come back into Byron, for example, and I know like the grid there is already so overloaded. So you look at all the buildings that are going up in there now, and then they're going to have to adhere to this.
They are going to have to adhere to this, so they're going to have to deliver the power. I mean, even in residential, it's the same, right? I mean, residential's the same. We do that. We do a very basic load management system. We call a peak controller for a residential house. So that pretty much connects to your switchboard and does the same thing as our big systems without all the back-end smarts that are needed. So it's a lot more cost-effective solution. But it's no different. You have a single-phase 63-amp breaker on your house, and you go and throw a 32-amp car charger on it.
You're going to be...
Your hot water comes on, your aircon comes on, the pool pump turns on, and next thing you know, you've tripped your breaker. So it's important. The biggest thing with EV... Yes, the EV charge is one of it, and we definitely do it. We've got a fantastic offer through that, but it's what we also do, which sets us apart, is we actually do the whole...
Yeah, I think it's having that whole package, not just
package,
like another company that's just going to sell you a charger, but they don't have the other infrastructure to back that up with the load management systems and stuff. And I think like that's good, especially that. So say you're doing a commercial install and you're going to be able to go through Schneider and have a distribution board ready for EV, plus all the switchgear within that board, and then the charger and the load management system. So it's all in one.
That's right.
Whereas if you're going to go get a branded car charger that has nothing else with it, how's that? You know what I mean? How's it going to work?
And I come across that. I come across situations where people have installed chargers and realised, well, hang on, I can't put in 3 22 kilowatt chargers in my house. How do I manage the power? And sometimes it's after the fact. Often people will buy a car and not realise, hey, I don't have much power in the house. And that's why what we're going through now is a very big educational process. Like, yes, of course, we want to sell chargers, which is fantastic, but at the end of the day, what we're doing now is trying to educate, which is why this is fantastic, to help people understand what it's all about.
So do you reckon, is it going to be in a way of Clipsal going to be able to support it with design and stuff like that as well? Like, is that going to? Because I think that's going to be the biggest thing for people.
Yep.
Say someone gets thrown. All right, we've got to go. You never get the full documentation. Not always. Like sometimes you will, but if someone goes, we've got to install this set of apartment blocks, and you need to have it all EV ready. Is that an option to be able to come to Clipsal and go, look, we want to use your chargers?
Yep.
Can you help us design something that's going to work with the right distribution boards and everything like that?
Yeah, and it's a good question, So there's two ways to go about it.
Yeah.
It's no different with home automation.
Yeah.
Do you want to go down that road yourself?
Yeah.
Or if it's your only one job that you're doing this year, then what we would generally do is partner you with someone that does a design.
Yeah.
So we can help, with the training and the upskilling.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily do the design work of the systems. But that being said, we have a lot of partners that we work with where what we would do is they would work in with you and they can help with the design and even the commissioning of it. So generally, no different to what we do now. You find an opportunity or a job comes up, you reach out to myself, we have a look at it and we work out pretty quickly, hey, is this something you want to take on?
Scale,
or do we bring someone else in that can help with the commissioning and design side of things?
Yeah.
But there's definitely a good opportunity in that space at the moment, I would say, to upskill your business, to be able to offer that service to other people.
I think like looking as an electrician and into what works are going to be happening or coming up and you want to stay on the front foot, this is definitely something that's like, it's like solar was maybe 5, 10 years ago before it was, I guess, had all the, the guys going around knocking on your door saying, it's probably going to turn into that. Realistically, once there's enough people with EV chargers, there's going to be probably someone knocking on your door, have you got an EV charger installed?
Yep.
And here, we can do it for you for this, on a payment plan or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like, if you can be on the front foot of that with training, knowing what you're talking about, is people are going to go and buy a car and they're probably going to buy a charger from the company they buy a car with. The biggest thing for us is going to be explaining to people maybe when we're doing new builds that haven't bought an EV yet and then going, righto, well, you're building a fucking 3-story concrete house.
Yep.
We need to get some provision in. Even if you don't think you're going to get an EV
Let's just run the cable.
Just get it ready to go. This is an option of what we can do. And then, like 2 years' time, like I know, is it LDV? Is that the car company? Oh, they've just released a ute.
It's LDV. I didn't even know they released. Hilux are releasing a.
They're releasing a hybrid, aren't they?
Yeah.
So Hilux can do a hybrid, and then LDV have just released. I think it's the first electric ute in Australia.
Oh, there you go. I know BYD are a big one. I mean, Tesla have probably 50% of the market at the moment, but BYD's that Chinese one. That's I think it starts at around $43,000.
Well, I think the LDV. Their diesel ute is like 45 grand, and their electric is 96 or something. So it's like nearly double the price, more than double.
And look, well, we'll see. I mean, we don't sell EVs, and that market will determine itself. But I think what we'll probably see over time, more government incentives.
I think that's going to be a big push from them. It's going to have to be.
And as the cost of, you think about a house. If you look at the future of the way your house works at the moment, so we've got EV, we've got solar, we've got potentially automation. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And what I'm excited about of kind of where we're heading down is you're bringing all that together.
Yeah.
Where we're about to release an EV down the track, and I'm not talking out of school here. It's kind of common knowledge that'll work in with our Wiser system.
Yeah.
So, in the not too distant future, again, we'll be releasing a monitoring system for your power. So if you can imagine, your home becomes like a microgrid where we go, okay, I solar charges batteries during the day.
Yep.
My EV, and everything's talking to everything.
Yeah.
I know how much I'm using, where I'm using it, and kind of it all works. So then overnight, when there's leftover battery, that's charging the car. That's kind of the way it's going, and then that will help alleviate things like the grid.
Because I think there's a couple other, like My Energy, who are big in the UK, have a sort of system like that. So they have the Zappy, and then they've got some energy monitoring systems that it's not big over here. They've got an Australian branch, but it's not huge.
Yep.
So they have that sort of thing where it's like, right, you install this part that then is going to be smart and talk to your batteries, and then use that load to fill your car overnight and
100%.
Regulate it.
And then when you look at, you go, okay, where does Wiser sit in that?
Yeah.
Why would Wiser be thinking? Because we're controlling all our loads in our house.
Yeah.
So if you can not only control your EV, your solar consumption, imagine we can then control our big loads, like hot water, pool, where we can have the system work and go, okay, the car's charged, let's run the pool pump.
Yeah.
Or, like things like that, or the car's, the car's charged, the batteries are full, let's turn the aircon on.
Yeah.
And have the house nice and cool when I get home. And what we're doing is using our excess solar. So that's a house that kind of works for you.
Yeah.
Especially with the cost of electricity going up, the cost of fuel going up. That's where we'll see, I suppose, an uptake of EV.
I think the biggest thing then is going to be how much strain goes on the grid with... Say you've got, because it's the same thing, I don't know what it's like everywhere else. I know in this area, there is a lot of constraint on how much power already is in such a small area. Like, it's rapidly growing, and can the grid keep up with it? Because it's such an old network. And then you've got, say, every single person then has an EV, and they all charge their cars at night.
Yep.
Like, how much is that going to...
So of night, and you think of that, off-peak is getting flipped on its head,
it's
right?
going the opposite way.
The opposite way. So normally overnight was off-peak, so we can charge, hot water's cheap because the grid's... Whereas really...
It's going to be the opposite.
It's going to be the opposite. And if you look at, say, New South Wales is different, right? There's no regulation around those loads. If you go to across the border...
Yeah, it's changed that there, hey? Yeah.
Yeah, well, what they have is...
Is there something to do with like a switch? I was talking to some guys, we did a course out there the other day about a switch that you get installed where they can turn your power off or lower. I think they can cut power to your property.
So you have a smart meter.
Yeah.
Apologies for that. We've got smart meters down here. We've got controlled loads, which would be like off-peak hot water. That's really the most common one around here. Well, in Queensland, you have to hook up your EV charger. If it's above 20 amps, you've got to put it on a controlled load.
Yeah, controlled load. So they can turn that off.
So what happens is you imagine all of a sudden the grid's getting to a maximum.
Yeah.
They can go through and switch off all the EV chargers.
And then no one can get to work the next day.
No one can get to work the next day.
So that's going to be that's where I think we've got to be able to keep up with the infrastructure. It has to be able to keep up, because if it's coming quick and fast, everyone starts buying EVs and there's a big uptake in it. How are we going to be able to keep up with that? And that's going to be where I think there's going to have to be a massive uptake on battery installations, because you're going to be utilising more power at night, and you're going to want to be storing as much energy as you can and utilising it at night to charge your car. 100%. Whereas if you don't have a battery on your house, so that's where I think the government is going to have to be able to step in and go, right, there hasn't been a good rebate, and people still ask, oh, what's the rebate on solar? It's like, there kind of isn't a rebate on solar. Not here, it's like your STCs, but there's got to be a good rebate on batteries.
And batteries, and then, your rebate on EVs.
100%.
So if you, all of a sudden it becomes, because if you look at the reason solar kicked off, so my brother-in-law put a solar system in, I don't even know, let's say 20 years ago, I'll pull that number out. And I think a 2.5 kilowatt system he put in and out of pocket was maybe $24,000. Yeah. They're rough numbers. That didn't make any sense at the time, financially. Yeah. Okay, so people did it because, they felt strongly about trying to build an eco house. So you kind of seen that with EV a little bit at the moment, right? So people are going, you know what, I'm spending the money, but financially, what you'll see, as the cost is driven down and the rebates come up, the cost of fuel comes up, and then you start to look at the fact that, well, hang on, I'm paying $2.50 a litre for fuel, or if I charge my card during the day off my batteries, it's costing me nothing.
Exactly.
And then that all starts to make sense. So the prediction of I think it was like 40,000 EVs got sold in Australia last year. So it's still a lot. Yeah. But that's only about 4% of the market. So I think it was somewhere around 2035.
Yeah, that's when
where we're expecting that combustion engine and EV, and then the combustion's going to be a mix of like hybrid. Yeah. And general combustion. So hybrids you'll see increase as well.
And then there'll be the next thing will be like a tax on diesel cars and stuff like that. Like, when it gets to that stage where you should be in an EV, or that it's more prevalent, then maybe people are like, oh, you now have to pay an extra $700 a year if you drive a diesel or something like that. And that's how, I don't know, it's going to have to change slow. It's going to be a slow process of changing. And I think the biggest thing is going to be the quality and type of car, because I've said it before on here, like in Australia it's so different because everyone drives a big car.
Yep. Yeah. And especially in regional areas. Yeah. I was out in Toowoomba the other day, and I mean, again, for them it's understanding, well, hey, I'm looking at a car, the car's, maybe a basic car's capable of 350 Ks. Well, if you live in Toowoomba, or even, really, if you live in Ballina, it might be fine as a little runaround, but it doesn't make much sense because I've got to go to Brisbane and back, I can't use it. I think that's, as the range increases, and then the way, you got to remember, the way we charge too, whereas previously you'd run your car empty of fuel. With you run it to empty and then you keep going. There's another 30 Ks left.
Most people do.
Keep going. Yeah. You can't really do that. So it's a change. You go, okay, well, every time I stop, so the saying, with EVs, like, you charge when you stop, you don't stop to charge. Yeah. So, you really, anytime you stop, and that's why we need the infrastructure in there. That's why there's a big push on the infrastructure.
Cars pulled over on the side of the road that have fucking run out of battery, and there's nothing.
Fire up the generator.
Nowhere to charge them. That probably puts people off as well. I'm going, fuck, like, at the moment, really, there's like, 10 chargers in the area, like public ones, maybe in this whole
there's
area,
a
maybe
few,
more, 10 to 20, like that are known about, maybe like that you can kind of see every now and again. Yep. Like places like the farm and stuff like that are there, and then it's at your house. So if you're out driving, like I'm saying, like yesterday I did it, and I was driving and I'm going, fuck, I've got no fuel on the highway.
Just pull in.
I'm like, I've got no fuel. So you can pull in. And how many times do you do that? What happens when you're in an EV and you can't just do that?
And that's where some EVs are capable of the fast charge, like your DC fast chargers, which pumping in like 250, 300 kilowatts.
Which isn't good for them either, is it?
It's not. So they'll take you to about 80% charge, and because they run quite hot, but they are there for those longer journeys. Where you go, okay, I can pull in, give it a quick charge, but you're paying for that, and that's where cost starts to come in. You think. You got
to be smart about it.
You got to be smart about it. If you're paying for a charge really to get the value out of it, you charge at home because you're going to be saving. You imagine if I'm paying 70 to 80 cents to pull into an amp hole and charge on one of their fast chargers, or I can charge at home on the solar for free, or even at 30 cents a kilowatt. Then that's a big saving. And that really adds to, I suppose, the value of having an EV.
I think I know what the future will be, and if it's not. You can sell this idea. I reckon one day it'll be you pull in your garage and your floor is the charger, and it just charges. You just park in your garage and it just charges through your wheels, and then your car's full and you drive back out. Like that would be.
So no contact charging, like your phone.
Just like your phone, putting on your wireless thing. It's just like you park it, done that.
So there's a US company at the moment that's currently got it in testing. It's a lane of the road.
That's electric.
That no contact charges your car.
Right.
So I don't know the name of the company, but there's a US company. If you Google it and have a look.
Yeah.
And the idea of that is you're driving down a lane and there'll be an EV charging lane.
So in the future, we might be like we're driving around on trams with the little like that's going to be.
Well, I think it'd be like you said, the no contact.
Yeah, but I guess there's so many different ways it's going to go, and it's so interesting that it's gone to that. Everything. We don't know when it's going to be like, but there's always going to come a time when diesel cars will be gone. So it's like that. It's interesting seeing it now and being at the start of something because I've obviously never had that. Well, we've had it with technology, but something so big. Yeah. With like how ever since I've been young, it's petrol, diesel. Yeah. You know what I mean? So having that next thing and being at that age where we're watching the whole thing unfold, it's going to be so interesting down the line when we're a bit older and we can look back and be like, oh, I remember when there was 40,000 electric cars in Australia or whatever. And
I remember when we used to pay all this for electricity. Remember we paid for petrol?
Yeah.
And we used to have to stop and
now it's just
get fuel.
Just automatically uploads with your fucking floor charging. I'll be rich because I would have thought of that idea anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Oh, well, I think that's kind of it for today.
Yep.
And like we covered some pretty interesting stuff with the EV. I think like we could 100% go on to other stuff within.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, look, and I'm keen to come back. Like I said, it's only I can walk to here from my place.
I think like touching on some automation stuff next time would be good, and maybe picking on whether we go into some wiser and what that can do, and like from what we've learnt from just the training session we did with you of how being able to retrofit that into a house that's existing and there's so many different ideas you can use and it can get you out of sticky situations as well, and I think that's like pretty interesting. So I think that's good, and I had some questions that I don't know where I put my phone now, so I might have to save them for next. That was the main thing I wanted to cover with you was that. So I don't know.
Look at EV, look at the new NCC. Yeah. So, dedicated load management systems. And that's something that we're, again, to keep an eye out for with new builds.
Yeah. I think that was it. Like, definitely with builders and stuff, just keeping that in mind that's going to be a requirement. And then if you got an electrician saying to you, oh, we need to install all these conduits, it's not someone trying to upsell, it's actually going to be a requirement, which should be all that should all be set in engineering from plans anyway. So
yeah, you'd hope so, but again, everyone's in an upskilling.
At least it's saying if you know, and you know that it will be a requirement by October, and knowing that could get same thing, you could be telling a builder that doesn't know that and get you out of a situation where something's been forgotten about, and at the end of the job, they're not going to sign it off because it hasn't been installed. And
no different to not getting your smoke detector certificate.
Yeah, exactly.
You won't get your occupancy certificate if it's not.
So there you go.
Very good.
Easy.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for coming in.
No, mate, really appreciate it. Anytime.
All right, awesome. Thanks for that.
Thanks.